So I give people an opportunity to please me because I am easy to please. And that's very different. It's much more direct. And it requires you to be in touch with yourself, to actually be in relationship with self and noticing your emotions, noticing your desires, giving your desires some attention, which if you're always externally focused and you're always focused on those around you, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss it because you're not looking inward. You're not checking in with yourself. You're not feeling into what's actually true for you. I distinctly remember writing in my journal about a year ago, I am easily pleased. I'm the kind of person that's easy to please. Everything is pleasing to me. And these are my affirmations on the other side of an aha moment that I was difficult to please. And that probably didn't feel good to other people, in particular, my husband. And it's like when we think about the people that we most enjoy doing things for, it's those who are over the top in their gratitude and in their delight. And that was not me because I had been a people pleaser for most of my life. And so in the same way that I wasn't waiting for others to explicitly express and advocate for their own needs, I was trying to anticipate them and meet them. I wanted others to do the same thing for me. So I wasn't necessarily fully in touch with what I wanted. I often didn't know what I wanted until I got something I didn't want. And then I felt a little frustrated and bitter and resentful that people weren't better at reading my mind and anticipating what I wanted, even though I didn't even know I wanted those things. So you can see how all of that together would combine into someone that's difficult to knock it out of the park for. So it wasn't like I was walking around just bitter and resentful all the time. You know, if you listened to this podcast a year ago, you'd be hearing me in the behind the scenes, and we're constantly refining and evolving, right? And I don't know that the year was the exact time point, but it doesn't matter. It's just that anytime we notice a character attribute about ourselves that doesn't feel congruent with what we want, we have the opportunity to shift it. And I actually had even forgotten that I journaled those things a year-ish ago until it was Mother's Day. We just celebrated Mother's Day yesterday, actually. And I realized how easily delighted I was with the day. And in that moment, I got to have that full circle reflection of how far I've come. And it was so nice to experience that Jeff had asked me what I wanted to do, which in the past might have irritated me in general because it was like, I want you to know what I want so that I don't even have to say what I want so that I can be surprised by you knowing what I want. He asked me what I wanted to do. I told him. He scheduled it. And it was great. And even I actually wanted to go out for brunch and I didn't want it to be a buffet. And then it turned out to be a buffet. And then the buffet turned out to be great. So it was like I was also just open to the possibility of getting something I didn't want, but that would actually be better than what I wanted. And it was. And there were lots of aspects of the weekend that were wonderful and unexpected and very delighting. And I'll probably record a whole podcast on one of them in particular. But nevertheless, I recognized in that moment how easy I was to please. And so I want to just talk about this and some of the things that had to shift. Because when we've been oriented toward people pleasing for a long time, there's a lot to unpack and a lot to heal. Because that outward orientation toward others and anticipating their needs often results in self-sacrificing and self-abandoning behavior, where we're prioritizing the needs of others above our own in a way that's not healthy, in a way that doesn't honor or emphasize our own importance in our lives, and in a way that doesn't foster self-responsibility. I take personal responsibility for my life experiences. Therefore, if I'm not getting what I want, who's responsible for that? I am. I get to do something about that. But when I'm trying to focus on other people's needs and then they're not nailing it with anticipating my needs, I'm bitter and resentful, and nobody is necessarily even getting what they want. So there's a lot to undo and untangle, and it starts with getting clear on your own needs and desires and taking radical personal responsibility for whether or not those are happening. Because ultimately, it's not my husband's responsibility to make sure that I have a good Mother's Day. I know that's what the narrative is, that it's the family who should make sure that the mother has a great time. If I were someone who was easy to please, what would that look like? That would mean that either I don't care, I have no attachment and expectation to what my Mother's Day looks like, or I recognize in advance that I actually do have some attachment and expectation, and there actually are some specific things that I want, and I voice those. So I give people an opportunity to please me because I am easy to please. And that's very different. It's much more direct, and it requires you to be in touch with yourself, to actually be in relationship with self and noticing your emotions, noticing your desires, giving your desires some attention, which if you're always externally focused and you're always focused on those around you, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss it because you're not looking inward. You're not checking in with yourself. You're not feeling into what's actually true for you. And then it's going to rear its ugly head when someone you love misses the mark. And then all of a sudden you're angry, or you're frustrated, or you're upset, or you feel misunderstood. But the first person who misunderstood you was you. And that was true for me. Like, I barely knew what I wanted to put on my Christmas list. So if I don't even know what I want, boy, other people are really going to have to get lucky with their guesses in order to actually give me the thing that I want. So if you are someone who has trouble when someone says, hey, what do you want for your birthday? And you're like, I don't know. Like, you can't even think of one thing. And you've tried. It's not like you just said, I don't know in the moment, but you actually thought and couldn't think of anything. That's a clue that you're out of touch with your own wants, needs, and desires. And that it actually would be such a beautiful opening for you to lean in and get curious and change your relationship with self. And so that reorientation away from people pleasing towards self-pleasing actually, ironically, makes it easier for other people to please you as well. Hope you're following all of that. I think I'm making it really clear. And I also feel like I've used the word please 85 times in a row here. So hopefully it's not a total brain teaser, but they are very intertwined. They are very intertwined. And most women have had a lot of practice for a lot of years, getting good at anticipating other people's needs and noticing what would be pleasing to them. And as kids, of course, we're all constantly noticing what's pleasing to the adults around us, especially our parents, because our survival depends on that. Our parents finding us pleasing actually is a key part of our safety and survival. And so that very early behavior, which at one point was necessary for our survival, often just gets carried into adulthood and looks like climbing the corporate ladder when the truth is you actually just would rather be a stay-at-home mom, or you're just doing the things that other people have in mind for you and never stopping to determine whether or not that's what you had in mind for yourself. So I'm really so thrilled that I had this moment of, wow, look at me. I'm so easy to please now. And it's a reminder that it can all shift so quickly. And it wasn't like I actually did a bunch of thoughtful and conscious work around it. My recollection is that I literally just wrote it in a journal, and then I think I let it go, but that was enough. That was enough, on top of the fact that, of course, I'm very plugged into self-help and personal development, and I meditate and I do breath work and I take care of my body and like all of those things. So I say that because sometimes when we identify the thing that we want, we immediately feel like, what do I do? How do I do it? What's the roadmap to being easier to please? What if there isn't one? What if you just have to set the intention? And then I guess I've given you a little bit of a roadmap, which is also tune into your own wants, needs, and desires and change the prioritization so that you're not just always looking outward first, but orient yourself more inward. And there you have it. And the cool thing is, by being easier to please yourself, it will be more pleasing for the people around you. So in the way that you've been trying to make them happy and make sure that they're taken care of, they will be so thrilled that you're taking care of yourself and that you're making it easy for them to take care of you or delight you in meaningful ways. It's one of these times when I'm reminded that there's only one self. And when I say that, a capital S, self, we are all part of one collective. And so therefore, there really is no win-lose. It's always lose or it's always win-win. And so when we think, oh, I did this thing for this other person and it was good for them, even though it was bad for me, when we zoom out to the perspective of all of us being part of the collective, the one self, if it was bad for me, it was bad for everyone. So by being more selfish, by being more inwardly oriented, by noticing what would be pleasing to us and prioritizing it, we are actually prioritizing everyone feeling more pleased, everyone feeling more satisfied, everyone getting their wants, needs, and desires met, because there is no true separation between you and I. So now that we've gone down that fun little existential exercise, I would love to hear your feedback. It's a short and sweet episode, but what were your aha moments? Are you a recovering people pleaser? Do you think that you're hard to please? And what's something that you're committed to? How do you want to work on it? How do you want to make it better? Would love if you shared that with me and shared that with our community here, since we're all walking this joyous path to millions together. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode, and I will see you soon.
Thank you so much for listening to today's show. Changing the way that we think, feel, and talk about money is up-leveling the planet. I truly believe that. The ripple effect starts with you tuning in, and it spreads when you share this show on Instagram and Facebook. You can tag me at mmakesmoney. And you know what moves the needle the most? Taking just a minute to leave a 5-star review on iTunes. This show isn't free to produce, so let's multiply those dollars invested and help this show reach a bigger audience each week. So thank you in advance for your help. I really appreciate it. And until next time, I'm sending you all the magic money vibes on your joyous path to millions.